Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire is the fifth film in the MonsterVerse franchise. The two behemoths, the two titans, duking it out yet again. But is this film any good? Or is it a film fraught with problems? We're going to find out in my review here today. Let's do it. So welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my review for Godzilla x Kong. Yes, this film came out in the cinemas a little while ago. I didn't get to see it then. I've got to see it now, and here I am with my thoughts. It's rated 12A. It runs for 1 hour and 55 minutes. Not an overly offensive runtime. It's directed by Adam Wingard and written by Terry Russo, Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett. And we do see a few returning characters from the previous instalment. That being Rebecca Hall as Eileen Andrews, Brian Tyree Henry as Bernie Hemps, and Kaylee Hottle as Gia, the young girl from the previous one. And joining the cast, among others, is Dan Stevens as Trapper. They're your primary players in this film. And this film, you know, obviously it's set after the previous one, and we've got Kong living happily down below in Middle-earth. Hollow Earth, Middle-earth, what am I saying? Down in Middle-earth, you've got Godzilla up on the surface, battling other titans as they come about. We see him as being a protector of sorts, and because they're separated, there shouldn't be any problems. So we get to see a little bit of life for Kong, and he's going around, he's setting traps, hunting, essentially catching these other creatures for meals and that sort of a thing. Godzilla's doing what Godzilla's doing up on Earth, and you got the little girl Gia, the last of the Iwi tribe, the last of this tribe of individuals that lived on Skull Island. She's going to school, this sort of a thing, and obviously she lives with Eileen Andrews, who's her mother figure, who works for Monarch. But the young girl's having problems. She's having problems fitting in. She doesn't feel like she is at home. She doesn't feel like she's found a home anywhere up here, so to speak. And not only that, she's having these funny dreams, or these funny daydreams. A signal's being sent out. A signal's being sent out from Hollow Earth upwards, and it's connecting with her. And they have to go and figure out the origins of this signal. Kong himself comes up to our world, up through one of the portals, because he's got toothache. He's got toothache, and he's put under. And we're introduced to Dan Stevens' character, who's essentially a vet for Titans. And they do a root canal job on him. They remove a tooth, they put in a new tooth, and off he goes, happy, back to Middle-earth. But these other characters, they follow him through. They go through with him, because they want to know the source of this pulse that's coming out. When they get down there, Godzilla goes off and Kong goes off and does his thing. The humans are doing their thing. Godzilla's up on Earth doing this thing. So this is essentially a film of 3 parts. It's 3 different story elements that sort of interweave by the end of it. As the film progresses, we find out about the Iwi tribe, that they've actually come from Hollow Earth, and there are still members of them living down there in this kind of protected, secluded kind of place, because they have this technology, shall we say. And Kong, while looking for other, he's the last of his kind, but we come to find out that there's actually another plane of existence, another world below the Hollow Earth, like a subterranean level, where there are other creatures like Kong, more of his descendants, living down there. And he has to battle with them because they want to battle him, and the bad one wants to get up to Earth and wrought destruction, and they've got a Titan that they've got as a slave, this big 4-legged ice Titan. Kong can't battle them alone. Godzilla has to be used to battle with them, to beat these other gorillas, or this main gorilla, and you got the little baby gorilla. There's a lot going on, in a sense. But like I said, there's 3 different story elements that kind of come together and combine as the film progresses in its 3rd act. Problem is the film any good? That's the question. So, I had a fun time with it. Like I said, it's a very inoffensive runtime. It's less than 2 hours. So, and time flies by quickly. It's a fun movie. It's very vibrant. It's very colourful, much like the previous one. And there's a lot of fun to be had within this film. You know, its pacing is good. The cast is good. But there are problems. There are problems that I have with this movie. Okay? And where to begin with them. And I don't want this to sound negative, right? Because I had fun with it. I did enjoy it, and I enjoy visits to this monsterverse. But it's so CGI reliant, first of all. It is CGI heavy. So much so that it doesn't look real. This is a problem I have with a lot of films now. This abundance of CGI on everything. You know, there used to be a nice combination of real world photography with CGI. The best CGI is CGI you don't know is CGI. Obviously Godzilla and Kong, they're going to look CGI, but all the backgrounds are as well. The story is light on humans. Okay, there's not many humans in it. There's no bad humans, which isn't a bad thing, because it makes the Titans the villains again, not the human element. So that's not a bad thing. But the world feels very much underpopulated, right? It feels very small in that sense. Even when the Titans are fighting, yes, you've got scenes of people running, but it's a combination of realising that, you know, millions of people would get killed in these battles that the Titans are having anyway, or hundreds of thousands of people the world over, because the Titans seem to like having battles where it's a big city, or whether you know, places where they're destroying world landmarks, this sort of a thing, all that going on. My primary issue with the film is scale, right? You've started to lose the scale of these creatures, yeah, because the film is set in a lot of places other than our world. You start to lose that scale, and not only that, these are reverting back to almost being akin to the old Japanese films, where it was a sense of a man in a suit. And I know that sounds weird, because it isn't a man in a suit, it's CG. But think of the camera perspective when you're watching those films. You've got a person filming who's the same size as the creatures, essentially, in men in suits. And that's how this feels. It feels like you've got someone behind the lens who's the same size as the creatures fighting. So your cities almost feel like miniatures in compared to them. Right, and I know what I'm saying. You must be thinking, well, what's he going on about? My point is there's no scale. There's no sort of, let's see these creatures fighting from the perspective of us. Let's pretend we're filming elements of this film from our perspective, seeing these behemoths fighting. Now we'll look at them from a distance fighting. We'll look at them down fighting, and this sort of thing, and from their level fighting, and thusly you start to lose a sense of their scale. Much worse, because a lot of the film is set where humans aren't about, Hollow Earth and that, so you haven't got that scale anyway. The minute that the ice creature is introduced to the size of the Kongs, you don't get a sense of its size, but then when you see it with Godzilla, it far outdwarfs the size of Godzilla, and it's like, well, okay, where'd that come from? That doesn't feel, you know what I mean? So the problem is the sense of scale, because of the human element. It's not being filmed from the human element, from the human perspective. It's being filmed from the perspective of the monsters. The human element is far reduced, in the sense that the world does feel somewhat underpopulated, in a sense that you would, like I said, you would have fights, but then you'd cut away to people running and cut back to the creatures, much akin to like the Japanese, the old films done. Yeah, but it's a fun film. It's just a fun film, but heavily CGI reliant, which that feels CGI. It feels like I'm watching a cartoon to a degree, very much. But that's the problem with a lot of films. The scale that it's filmed at, the sense that how it's filmed, it was an issue for me. But you know, I'm saying this stuff, but it's a hell of a fun time. There's a lot of conveniences in the film as well, and what I'm talking about is damage that Kong sustains to a body part, and then how quickly they manage to give him an adaptation that just happens to be there, that they were working on. You know, very convenient that. But I had fun with the movie. It's a film that I'll be heavily critical of, but enjoy. What more can I say? So let me know your thoughts down below if you've seen this movie. Yeah, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.